They say you are what you eat, so I don't eat chicken feet. But I love me some of Grandma's pickled beets. Well, cut it up, put it in the pan, throw it over your shoulder and see where it lands right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Maters, taters, beans and corn, the cows in the barn and the sheep's been shorn, kids in the barnyard chasing Grandpa's chicken. Spices, slices, cuts and dices, gonna slash your grocery prices right here in Farmer's Kitchen. Help you grow your garden good with recipes to suit your mood. Try some grub you've never tried before. Smash it with a wooden mallet, gonna educate your palate. Right here in Farmer's Kitchen, in Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We're gonna cook something good now.
Hello and welcome to the Farmer's Kitchen, our outdoors kitchen today.
That's right.
We're the farmers. This is our kitchen. Yes, Farmer is our last name.
That's right.
A lot of people say, is that for real? Yeah, it's for real. This is Mrs. Farmer. I'm Mr. Farmer. Or you can call us Tim and Nicki.
That's right.
However you prefer. It's like right now, maybe 80 degrees.
Feels cold.
Yeah, for the hot part of what usually is a really hot part of
Right.
the summer. So we had this day and I thought, man, we gotta cook outside. So we went freezer diving. We gotta start getting rid of some things out there because in the fall, a lot of times I'll put some venison in there.
Right.
And some sheep,
Right.
some lambs, except for Montana.
That's
out in
right.
Montana. He's gonna be like in a petting farm setting for the rest of his life.
He's in a petting zoo.
He's very happy.
That's right.
Here we have these steaks that we've pulled out. I know somebody who owns a steakhouse, and I went and tried one of his steaks. And I said, man, you know, typically I'm a very quality salt, very quality pepper. That's all I need for a good steak.
Right.
I don't need a marinade, don't want a marinade. Maybe a little garlic, but for the most part, that's all I want on my steak with a couple other secret little things that I sometimes add. His steak was really different. It's kind of had a Southwest flair to it. And I said, what did you do? So he told me so much, but he didn't tell me everything. So I had to come home and guess.
You're good at that.
So you think about the flavors that he had on it. I know there was paprika, probably smoked paprika. And I know that there was a chipotle flavor on there. Chipotle, by the way, for those who don't know, is just basically a dry, aged, smoked jalapeno.
Really?
That's all it is. So we've got coffee.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Everybody loves a little bit of coffee taste, ground coffee in their steak. I've got some turbinado sugar. What's turbinado sugar? That is a coarse, more lightly processed sugar. There's more of the molasses flavor still in it.
It's bigger. I like the big chunks.
Bigger,
Yes.
and it stays, even when you're using it in a recipe, a lot of times, it maintains its structure. It doesn't cook down and break down, so you can have that little bite. Sugar in a steak, you may say.
I think it'd be good.
So what I did is I took all those flavors, and I'm gonna try to get his flavor as much as I can because it's a good steak. I'm gonna try it with a little cumin. I know he had some cumin in there. I'm gonna put, 2 teaspoons in there. Smoked paprika. Oh, that smells
A
so
lot
good.
of smoked paprika.
I'm gonna put 3 teaspoons.
Okay.
Now the chipotle, which I really tasted,
Is that hot?
it's a jalapeno. You want a bite?
No.
You want a spoonful?
No, thank you. I don't
Just
even
a
smell
spoonful of chipotle. 1, 2, 3 and a half. Now what I've found with chipotle and things when you put them on a steak, for some reason the heating process kind of slows that down. It takes the heat out.
it. Yeah.
Just use a little bit of a quality. This is some of our cherry pepper. I'm gonna probably go 3/4 of a teaspoon. I'm gonna go a tablespoon of salt because you really need a lot of salt on that steak. Unless your doctor says no, and then
Be careful.
you gotta be careful. I'm gonna take some of this sugar and I'm gonna put, let's go a teaspoon. Then with the coffee, I really want that to stand out. I want to taste that. And again, this is kind of a different thing for a steak. Now, most people like to taste their beef, but if you can find something that really accompanies it well and makes that flavor pop, I'm a fan of this.
Now that was 3 tablespoons of coffee. That's a lot of coffee.
3 tablespoons. That's 3 and a
yes.
half.
Oh, was it?
tablespoons,
Okay.
Yeah, because I really want that to stand out. Now, here's what we've got. Don't be afraid.
I can smell that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to go to a restaurant and say, okay, I'm gonna break this down, and then go home immediately. Write it down, what you remember, and then, oh, that does smell good.
It smells really good.
Now we have many ways to use our heat here in the outdoors. We have our Dutch oven over here, and I want you to keep this in mind. If you never remember another thing I say about cooking outside, 350 degrees. In this is 350 degrees in your oven. There are plenty of guides all over the place to tell you how to do that, and that smells heavenly.
It does smell good. I can't wait.
So what am I gonna do to begin our steak process here? I'm gonna go ahead and put a little olive oil on it. I'm gonna go ahead and season it ahead of time, because as I put this in the cast iron, I'm not putting it on a high temperature. I'm not searing it. I'm cooking it in there like you would cook it in an oven at a low temperature. I'm gonna try to keep it about 250 or less. These steaks are room temperature, and they're making my mouth water.
They look really
Everything
good.
smells really good here. I have got my Dutch oven on about 250 degrees. That's roughly 4 on the bottom, 12 on the top. That's gonna create a low temperature in there where that fat can start to render. They actually start to cook. They're not gonna cook, and I'm not gonna sear them. That's what the fireplace is for. But meanwhile, I go ahead and put just a little olive oil on there, and I take my well-mixed seasoning, and I generously, now it's a ribeye, and I think, personally, that ribeyes work out really well at medium rare. All right, so I'm gonna turn them over. Now I'm gonna kinda push my seasoning in there, and when I get them off and get ready to put them in the fire, I'm gonna put a little more seasoning on. But just know that that flavor is gonna be already working. And then again, your steaks need to be room temperature. And what I'm smelling here, again, now this is a very nice steakhouse where I'm talking about, and the guy obviously wouldn't tell me his whole deal, but I took a whiff, and then I added some stuff, and this is really, really, if you've ever had a coffee rub, you'll know what I'm talking about, along with the chipotle. Now again, we're not looking for, and you didn't hear, a sizzle there. These are just gonna warm up, and that fat's gonna start to render down. And I want them to be about 100, 105 degrees when they come out of there. Then we finish them up on the fire. So we freezer dived and found us some ribeye.
Yes.
I love getting in there. Now, I tell you what, I'm gonna get me a stand-up freezer, because the chest freezers,
You lose
you
stuff.
lose stuff.
But you were excited when you find something you didn't realize you had. That makes you happy too.
That's exactly right.
Right.
So anyhow, with prices what they are, we do keep freezers, and we buy stuff when it's on sale.
Right.
And we also are finding some meats on sale, and we're canning them. Yes, you can can meats. Yes, you can can meats.
Yes, that's right.
Say that 5 times fast
Yes, you
as
can
you
can meats. Yes, you can can.
So here we are. The next step is to let this steak over here go for about 20, 25 minutes until that internal temperature. I don't want it that hot, maybe 100 degrees.
Yeah.
This is something I found out that works every time. It's a no-miss type thing. 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna bring it out here. I'm gonna give it a good sear. I'm gonna put a little more of this on it. And then I'm talking beautiful, wonderful.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
For the side, we had in our refrigerator, we had company the other night, and we had some fresh sweet potatoes, and we didn't want to do anything to them other than bake them. We had some left over,
Yes, we did.
and we're gonna take these, and what we're gonna do, we got a pan over here. These are already done, they've already cooked. And if you wanted to boil them, skinless, whatever, and cut those up, however you want to cut them up. And we're gonna take our assorted sweet potatoes, and we're gonna put them on the bottom of the pan. And again, these are already cooked, so we don't have to worry too much about how long it's gonna take. So we're leaving the skin on because the skin is good
I like
for
the
you,
skin.
very good for you.
I like it.
So what are we gonna do now, Mrs. Farmer? What
don't
can
know.
we do? Oh, let me think. How about some brown sugar?
This sounds delicious.
Could you dig it?
I could. I like brown
What
sugar.
about some butter though?
Oh yeah, lots of butter.
A little bit of salt. Just a little bit of salt.
Oh, salt makes it good.
Just a wee
Yeah.
bit of butter.
Wee bit.
And then we're gonna come back, with some brown sugar.
Yummy.
And this is not gonna be good. Nobody's gonna
No.
eat this. So now I'm not gonna have too much heat on the bottom of this pan. Most of the heat is gonna be on the top.
Are you gonna put cinnamon?
Yep.
Maybe a little bit of cinnamon.
Cinnamon's good for circulation, you know.
That's right.
A little bit of cinnamon.
I got you some marshmallows.
Then, oh, the grandkids are gonna be so upset when they see this.
Because these are for their s'mores.
This is decadent.
Yes, it is.
I used to love, you almost felt like it was cheating when you were
Yeah.
eating, at your grandmother's house and she made sweet potatoes with marshmallows.
Yes,
Can't go wrong.
that's right.
So now, This is gonna be closed up.
Oh, that's gonna be yum.
We're gonna put this on top of our other pan and let it start getting ooey gooey. So we got our butter over there. Miss Farmer, if you cut me half of this sweet onion.
Okay, what size onion?
Fingernail size.
All right.
I was in bear camp. I was bear hunting one time in Northern Ontario with some guys. And somebody made something like this, and I can't remember exactly what they did, so I'm kind of scratching from memory. So here's what we're gonna do. First of all, we're gonna saute these onions. So Mrs. Farmer, if you could scoop those up
I will.
in your 2 hands.
I'll just bring the whole pan over. How's
That's
this?
beautiful. All right, now I did something tonight. I've got grates on this fireplace. I just want to prove to you. This is from a grill on the back porch. I just want to show you that you don't have to have a fancy schmancy grate. You could set up a rock, a log, or whatever, get about 11, 12 inches off the ground, get your fire going, and you are ready to roll. Now, if you do want to go the trouble of building an outdoor place to cook, I love this little snake because I can move that around on or off the fire. Works really well for that. So we got a nice little sizzle going here. So we also had some little old heads of cabbage that are needing some attention pretty quick. So again, I was in Canada in bear camp, and I remember somebody making this. So our onions are browning up nicely. We're gonna put some cabbage in here. I'm gonna put about maybe 1.5 tablespoons of soy. I'm gonna put some vinegar, obviously. A couple tablespoons vinegar. Just a little bit of chicken broth, just enough to kind of keep it moist. Just a dab of hot sauce, your favorite. I'm gonna continue to cook my cabbage over here. So again, when you talk about reverse sear, the sear comes after, not before. We put it in there basically to start the cooking process and start rendering those fats down. If you just threw it on the grill for 3 or 4 minutes, you're gonna have a tough steak. If you let it start to cook down and let those juices start to render down till it gets to about 100, 105 degrees, and then do your sear over here, according to what temperature you like. But this steak right here has a unique profile. After we took it off here, popped it on here, got some grill marks on it, and that profile is so wonderful if you like just a little bit of heat. And again, you would think with the chipotle, that much chipotle, you would have a whole lot of heat. Right. You are really sensitive to heat, and you did just fine.
That was perfect, because I think it cooks it in there.
So in just a minute, I'm gonna put a lot of heat on top of this to make those marshmallows brown and melt into an ooey gooey mess. Everything's coming together quick. So now back to the cabbage. All right, now just a little bit of salt because we're gonna add something that has salt in it. Now here's the part that I remember. In deer camp or bear camp, everybody's got ramen noodles. Quick and easy, you got carbs. This is a seasoning from one. I don't even wanna know what's in it. Then we're gonna take the actual noodles, and towards the end here, we're gonna crunch these up. So that's gonna give that just a little bit of a crunch. And remember, we've got soy, hot sauce. Now we're gonna let those dissolve, just a little bit of that liquid. Then a little sesame seeds, just to jazz things up. And that's ready to go. Earlier when I said 350 degrees out here is the same as 350 degrees in the oven, or 400 degrees, it's the same thing.
Right.
Get your little book if you're gonna cook outside that has the chart. How many to put on top and how many to put on the bottom. Then you have like a convection type thing going and you got some wonderful stuff. Now what you do have in the oven is a little more control. So here is a ooey gooey wonderful dish that we did with our orangish, yellowish sweet potatoes outside. But we also had some purple sweet potatoes, purple schmurple. So here's, if we did that in the oven in the house, here's the steps. I took some pictures while we were doing this, and here's the final step. And there's our dessert. What do you think?
I love dessert. That's perfect. I love it.
You know, as a kid, we thought we were kind of getting dessert when Grandma would make this.
Yeah.
All right, so what you do have in your oven is more control. Say you want to put the broiler on and really watch it. You do have control. So the same thing here, except we had purple sweet potatoes, which are healthy. You have more beta carotene in the orange ones, but probably more antioxidants in these purple. Anytime you have purple vegetables, you got something good going on. So as the steak rests and as we look at the cabbage and our toast, everything looks wonderful.
Yes, it does.
Most television shows, if you watch your favorite series, they have 10 or 11, maybe if you're lucky, 15 to 17. We try to do in the high 30s.
Yeah.
So, you know, somebody every now and then says, well, that was a rerun. Yes, but we're doing twice as many shows, and Kelly works hard, and you work hard. It takes a lot to put a show together, and thank you so much for hanging out with us for 10 years. In celebration of 10 years, while we let everything rest and get ready, let's take a look back in one of our most popular segments. My favorite dessert over the years, you know what it is?
Apple cake, I know.
That your grandmother made?
Yes.
We made that up there on the Dutch oven. So let's take a peek back at my favorite cake. But you know, as you open this up, there was an actual note from your grandmother's
She wrote to my mom.
kitchen.
Yeah, back in the day, they used to write letters. That's how
yeah.
you got stuff. And my mom actually taped it in here. And I think I was only like 3 or 4. And it's a letter talking about how this is this great cookbook. It's got everybody in it. Give this to Nicki Lynn, save it for her when she gets older. And she listed all the pages and everybody.
Put Nicki Lynn's book away until she grows up, and then give it to her so she can have recipes from her grandmother's, aunts, cousins, and her mom. So this is all your family.
But you know what though? It's all hers. She put our names on it. I know everything in this is her best. And every time I open a page, I'm like, I remember that. This is all good stuff.
That's the thing about family, man. You know, it's so cool. You know, my mom's chow chow is, you know, is passed down,
Right.
and that's her deal.
It's amazing.
And it's, you know, it's just fantastic to have these memories of people related to food, because
Right.
food's the time you sit around the table and talk about each other and have family time, and it's just cool to have those kind of memories. That's excellent.
And
right
old
there.
recipes are the best.
Oh yeah.
I think they're the best.
Speaking of old recipes, you know, let's go ahead and put this together before we get the salt and everything out. All right, let's mix
Perfect.
this thing up.
All right, well, I got the book right here in front of me, and what we're gonna start with 2 cups of flour, which I already have in here. And if you wanna go ahead and add, we have 1.5 cups of sugar. All right, so we're putting all our dry ingredients together, she says here. Put all dry ingredients together. Now in this container, I have got a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt, all that. All right, now we're gonna take 4 apples, and I got my little handy dandy.
That is handy.
We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get those ready and I'm gonna take the skins off of those too.
Okay.
Okay, we mix the apples in. Now we're gonna have to mix that. So mix our apples with our,
All right, mix the apples in.
the dry ingredients, yeah. Kind of like apple pie a little bit, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Isn't this neat to know that your grandmother did the exact same
Yes.
thing?
So now we're gonna pour oil.
Okay, how much oil is that?
That's actually 3/4 of a cup that she put in. And then go ahead and throw those 2 eggs in
2
that I've
eggs.
already mixed.
How much vanilla?
Vanilla,
extract?
we have got 1 teaspoon of vanilla. A little extra just because you like it. Okay.
You
That
know
smells
what? Just
good.
looking at that consistency, I know what this is going to be, and it's going to be good.
This looks delicious.
Now, everything we always do it ahead of time to make sure it's good. This is the first thing we just taken right out of your grandmother's book, and it's interesting the consistency of this.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be like a heavy, rich. Really am excited to see how this turns
Me
out.
too. I always ate her stuff and it was delicious. I haven't got a chance to make it all.
Looks
There
good
you
to
go.
me. Now the great thing about stacking is we've already got our ones on the bottom.
Oh, wow. Yum.
Look at that. Oh, the smell. Nicki,
Oh, that looks
smell
good.
that.
Touch. Oh, that's good. That's good.
All right, let's take this off and let it cool.
Yum.
I kind of knew what we're going to have here, but this is the first time that we've ever cooked anything that we haven't tried. But the texture, it's almost like those soft cookies you get.
Yes.
This is exceeding expectations just from the consistency. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
That's dense.
Oh, wow.
That's stupid.
That's really good. I told you every recipe in that book's good.
My.
Every recipe's delicious. That's amazing.
This is not even right.
Wow.
That is absolutely delicious.
How do you describe it? It's like cake,
I
pie,
don't
and
even
cookie
know.
mixed.
Yeah, it's like a really good cookie but the consistency is wonderful. You taste the apple. It's almost like a apple pie, thick apple pie cookie. Whoa.
You gonna eat the whole thing?
Thank you, Grandma.
Ooh.
No, that is really, you know what? I try to watch my sweets, but this is ridiculous.
You like it? Yum.
It's not out of a box.
That's delicious.
Those are fresh organic apples. The sugar, the flour, boom, instant. That's the easiest recipe ever that turned out
really
that
easy.
good. It's not out of a box.
And you just need the powdered sugar. You don't need icing on that, boy.
No, because it's very rich.
You gonna stop?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna go ahead and do your magic.
All right, we're trying to end the show here, and you're on your second piece.
I can't help it.
Are you gonna?
Look at that. That's good. That, and being outside too, I think it just enhances it.
You gonna eat your second piece?
I'm gonna let that set for a minute and cool down, then we're gonna talk about the garlic, but you gotta try this. This is something else. So what happens when you run that through about 250 degrees for about 15, 20 minutes?
Wow.
You see that? You see a little bit of pink. That's a good medium rare.
How is it?
So what do you taste there? What's different?
I can taste the coffee on it. I kind of like that. It's a whole different taste. I like that a lot.
That is extraordinary.
That is.
It's not something we do every time. Again, I just prefer the salt and pepper,
Oh.
maybe a little garlic. Would you cut me another piece of that?
I will.
Oh my. When you're cooking it and that fat's rendering down and you have the smoke from the fire, you got
Delish.
something special. So I remember deer camp, bear camp, you always have some guys who are like home chefs.
Oh yeah.
You know, they come up with these neat things, and this is one, and I think he called it Cowboy Cabbage.
I like
and I
it.
remember him putting some ramen noodles and maybe some nuts. I want you to try this.
He must have
and
had
see what you
kids if he had the noodles.
think. He must.
Everybody has those when they're
Probably
kids.
college kids.
Need a noodle.
And the seasoning is one of the noodle packet seasonings. So you got that and a little soy to salt it up.
Nice
a little
crunch. I like the crunch.
So again, on our sweet potatoes, you know, when the kids come over and we have carrots,
Carrots.
we call them carrots because they wouldn't eat them. So we put a little brown sugar and some butter
Oh, they love them.
and some maple syrup, which is the same thing we did here.
They would love this.
And they would love this. What would we call this?
I don't know. They'd like the color too. They would love the purple. Taryn would like the purple. Oh wow. So you're eating marshmallows.
And someone might say, Mr. Farmer, did you overdo the marshmallows? Can't overdo marshmallows.
That's really good.
Oh my goodness. That's like candy.
Yes, it is.
So that is a little dish that we did in the oven. Did one outside, did one inside to show you. What happens inside is just as good as outside and vice versa. Now you don't have as much control sometimes in Dutch oven. You gotta kind of take the top off and look and make sure you pile stuff up. But this,
I think you like that.
so it's been a long time since we cooked outdoors. And I'm gonna dive in the freezer maybe next week and see what we have left.
Good
Look at-
idea.
what do we have? You made a list.
I did. We have everything. You just need to play.
I need to dig around and see what we've got because again, we have deer here. And deer, one of the most healthy meats you can possibly eat. It's so lean, so delicious. So very shortly, I'm going to be putting a deer in the freezer. I know this can be hard to believe, but our half hour's up.
Yes, it is.
So when our half hour's up, we start talking about how folks might get those recipes. And if someone came to you very nicely and said, Mrs. Farmer, how would I get those recipes? What would you reply?
I say timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
And then if they went one step further and said, we would really like to talk to you on Facebook, maybe on Monday afternoons, we put on our recipes that we made over the weekend. We know you have a Facebook page, but is it hard to get onto it? What would you say?
I say hit like. Very simple. Very
One
simple.
step.
Yes, very
That's
simple.
amazing. Well, I think it's probably time. Looks like the clouds are coming in. Before it rains, we should eat.
Yes, we should.
So we're going to cut this up and have a feast. And meanwhile, it's all about
Good times
good friends.
and really good eats.
We'll see you next week on Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. We have been catering for a lot of years, and I wanted everything to have a specific taste. Therefore, I had to come up with my own products.
Right.
A dry rub, chow chow, and our barbecue sauce are something that we use in all our catering gigs. I developed this barbecue sauce that is not the really thick, syrupy stuff that you get. This has more of a natural, it's got some pepper and onion flavor in it. You can actually see the particulates in there. You know, a lot of people are asking what we use our dry rub on. Now, obviously, pork and chicken are two of the more common things. Also, we've been using on our corn on the cob with butter.
That is.
I'm telling you, this
It's
stuff
wonderful.
with potatoes is fantastic. So 40 years in the making, Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen Dry Rub.